Hello guys, I hope you're all doing well and in good health inshallah. So my name is Khadija Mneti and today's video is about stylistics. We're going to see to look at the definition of stylistics and style, the purpose of stylistics, its development, and some main concepts in stylistics. So let's get started. What is stylistics? Stylistics is the description and analysis of the variability of linguistic forms in actual language use. So, what we mean here is that, for example, we have a poem or a literary text, and what we do in order to do, the stylistic analysis is that we analyze it, we describe it. We don't describe the poem, we describe the language that is used in the poem, the different, linguistic forms in that poem or in that text. And we're going to see the purpose why. There is a very important word or concept in stylistics, which is style. So what is style? The word style is derived from this is like the origin of the word style. Let's go to the definition. Style is a means of communicating one's ideas, thoughts and emotions in an expressive way. Style is a way of showing the functions of language, a way of individualizing an act of speaking or writing, and a way of catching attention. So style is, it's clear. It's a way of communicating ideas and thoughts and emotions, and it's a way of catching attention. Like you are talking and you are using your own unique style to be different and to catch the attention of the listener, etc. So we come to the purpose of stylistics. Stylistics explores the role of language in literary experience, and to do stylistics is to explore language, more specifically to explore creativity in language use. So this is the purpose of stylistics, to find out, or to find out the creativity in language use, like how language is used in a creative way, and how the poet or the writer uses the language. And in order to write a stylistic analysis, it should respect three principles, which are called 3 R's, because all of them start with the letter R. So the first principle is rigorous, and second is retrievable, last one is replicable. Those are the principles that your stylistic analysis should respect. The first one is rigorous, which means that your stylistic analysis should be based on an explicit framework of analysis. Okay. Second one, retrievable, means that your analysis is based on terms or criteria. Okay, explicit terms and criteria that were agreed upon other previous stylisticians, so that when others want to read your stylistic analysis, they would understand it, because there is an agreement of the terms and concepts and criteria that are used in a stylistic analysis. And the third one is replicable. Replicable means that your stylistic analysis should be, or can be verified by others, by other stylisticians, by other people. Yeah, those are the principles of stylistic analysis. The development in stylistics. Two linguistic schools of the 20th century have exerted the most decisive influence on the development, terminology, and the state of art of stylistics. So, two schools that helped and influenced the development of stylistics, which are Russian Formalism and Prague Structuralism. The first school is Russian Formalism. It's the most famous member and the most well-known exponent of Russian Formalism was Roman Jakobson, whose work focused on defining the qualities of what he termed poetic language. According to him, the poetic function of language is realized in the communicative acts, where the focus is on the message for its own sake. So what we mean here, like whenever in stylistics, when we speak about Russian Formalism, we remember the poetic functions of language, which Jacobson talked about. So this school focuses on the poetic functions of language, and we are going to talk about them in one of the next slides. The second one is Prague Structuralism. Here, Mokarovsky noted that literary texts deviate. Please pay attention to the words which I wrote, in the red color, because they are, the keywords. Literary texts deviate from what he termed the standard language. The consequence of such deviation is the creation of defamiliarizing effect for the reader. So here he noted that we're talking about Prague Structuralism, and Mokarovsky noted that literary texts deviate from what he termed the standard language. Standard language is language that is used by all people, the normal language, or not the that is used by all people, but the language that a literary text should use, okay, or the writer should use in a literary text. But here, writers, they deviate from that language. They use some linguistic devices that are different from the standard language, and that for what? For the creation of defamiliarizing, because they want to make their own style and to be different. His notion of defamiliarizing or estrangement, or making strange, those are the names of deviation, also entail the political notion, because he stressed that the function of the art is to make people look at the world from a new perspective. So this is another reason why they deviate from the standard language, that to make people look at the world from a new vision. And when we talk about Prague Structuralism, we should remember those concepts: deviation, parallelism, and foregrounding, especially foregrounding. And because deviation and parallelism are part of foregrounding. Okay. Foregrounding. Here, before we talk about foregrounding, we should make distinction, or let's distinguish between foregrounding and automatization, so that we understand foregrounding, we better understand it. Automatization refers to the common use of linguistic devices which does not attract particular attention by the language decoder. So here, automatization is the linguistic devices or language that is used, the normal language. So it doesn't attract attention. Like, for example, I don't have an example. Well, like when you are talking, you say, that's amazing. Or you say, kind of, sort of, the language that is used, the normal language, it doesn't attract attention. Automatization correlates with the usual background pattern or the norm in language. Automatization is the norm, the language that is normal, used by all people understand it, doesn't attract their attention. But foregrounded linguistic devices catch the language decoder's attention. Foregrounding thus captures deviation from the norm. So foregrounding is a deviation from the norm. You don't respect the norm, you deviate from it, and it attracts the attention. When we are talking about foregrounding, there are two things here: deviation from a norm and more of the same, or parallelism. I already mentioned this. So deviation from the norm or more of the same, both of them are regarded as a foregrounding. Deviation from a norm is when you use your linguistic device that is different, or use the language in a different way. Okay, for example, like when you have a poem, you are reading a poem and you find for example he speak, for example, and of course we know that there is a grammatical mistake here. It should be he speaks, because in the present we add s in the third singular person, but of course the writer or the poet, he knows that we add an s in the present. Okay, he knows this, but he's doing this is a kind of deviation. He deviates from the norm. The norm is that s should be added in the present tense, in the third person singular, but he deviates from that norm for reasons that are analyzed in the stylistic analysis. And foregrounding has more of the same, means parallelism. Parallelism, you know, it's repetition, like when you say, um, for example, like father, like son, and you have like plus noun and like plus noun. This is kind of parallelism or repetition. And poetic function in language. Standard language is supposed to have a communicative and aesthetic function. So the poetic function in language, or it has the aesthetic function. When we say the poetic, function in language, we're talking about alliteration, rhythm, and sonors that are used in poems. So we talked about the definition of stylistics and style and the purpose of stylistics. We talked about the schools, Prague Structuralism, which focused on foregrounding, and Russian Formalism, which focused on poetic function of language. And we said that foregrounding is the deviation from the norm, and poetic function, we are talking about alliteration, rhythm, etc. So this is a kind of recapitulation of what we have covered in this video. So thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.